5. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman.
What up?
Kyle Wagner.
Hey, guys.
Alexis Schlegel.
Hello, everybody.
And Philip Proctor.
Yo.
Yeah, thanks for coming out tonight, guys. We got a lot of shit to talk about. First off, I thought I would kick it out and maybe tell people about the Patreon again.
Yeah.
And so we do an after hours now, and if you want to gain access to that, you can, if you help us out on Patreon for a minimum of $1 per month, you can help keep the lights on in Anarchy Basement and gain access to our after hours podcast, which we record right after this one. So give us some love over there if you can. You know, Facebook has hit us hard, and this really helps keep us going. So that would be awesome. Number one, I wanted to touch on a little bit, Fondle. There was a meme the other day. It was a Kyle Wagner meme, which you guys all know I'm a fan of those. And so it was Tom Woods driving a car, and then I saw somebody was in the passenger seat. I'm not sure who, but then Kyle was in the back seat wearing, what's that helmet that you wear?
It's just a ski helmet.
Is there a chin strap on that helmet?
There is, yeah.
Okay, cool. So so you're in this car with Tom Woods, and what is this, Kyle? You guys were going to forced skiing lessons?
Yeah, so I think that was it. I really didn't understand.
I think you were there, dude.
Yeah, I did not understand the meme because it didn't make sense to me. I don't know if it was a reference to something Tom Woods had said.
Yeah, I think it's a reference to apparently he says that like sex work is a form of rape.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
I believe, okay, maybe I'm like misquoting because I honestly I don't take a whole bunch of interest in it because I'm going to assume that, Tom Woods is religious, so therefore he's going to have some religious biases to his brand of libertarianism. And just what were we saying, Jared?
I was just gonna say I don't think he said that he thought it was rape. I just think he was just saying just because we want to legalize something doesn't mean we have to promote it. And somebody had I think it was actually I think it was
somebody
Arvin.
else jumped to conclusions and said, must be rape.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think Arvin had made a post about how it should be like encouraged or something, and then Woods responded and was like, no, this isn't something we should encourage. I mean, should we be throwing people in cages? No, but
yeah, but I wouldn't want my daughter doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't either, but at the same time,
I wouldn't want Alexis selling his sweet boy
booty hole
on the corner. You know,
Yeah, I can't have that.
but I'm not sure that we
see
need
that.
to marginalize sex workers. I mean, almost everybody looks at porn, right?
What's porn?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll bet even Tom Woods has looked at porn before, dude. Those are sex workers. They're just getting paid to get filmed doing it, whereas a prostitute doesn't get filmed.
Yeah, I've always thought that was really ridiculous.
Yeah, it's super ridiculous.
Why, when there's a camera involved,
Right.
does that change it?
Mm-hmm.
It's still getting paid to have sex. So
Exactly.
yeah.
It would be legal in the Anarchy Basement here because you got a camera.
Well, it's really
We
just
could
used.
film set.
It's really
Look
been
at you,
used.
always thinking with your other head.
Don't kink shame Tom Woods, says Tim.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think it's more on. It makes sense from a standpoint of who are you trying to oppress, right? The same thing as the drug war. The drug war was made to oppress minorities and
Hippies.
hippies and people that the government didn't like, really. Whereas prostitution is very closely related.
Women?
What's that?
I think it's kind of made to oppress women.
Well, it is. It
yeah,
is.
I mean, it oppresses women, but it oppresses men too.
Well, now you have this whole weird thing of every prostitute is now being sex trafficked, which is completely bullshit. I mean, sex trafficking accounts for a very small percentage.
It's made it more dangerous.
Well, it's made the laws have made sex trafficking more viable for sure. But as far as most sex workers are not being trafficked. This is just a scare tactic. And I was listening to, I don't know, have you guys ever heard of Thaddeus Russell?
Uh-huh.
He has a podcast called Unregistered, and he's had on mistresses and sex workers.
Whores.
They're all whores is what they like to call themselves, I think. No, I think that's true though. I think they I don't know. It's not they have different preferences, but I mean they're very intelligent people. At least the ones he brings on, they just choose to get into sex work, and they're not being trafficked. They're not being forced against their will.
Yeah.
You know, so he was comparing it to they had this thing called the Mann Act back in the early 20th century, where basically it was like illegal to travel across lines with like a woman that wasn't like your wife.
Yeah, that's
And it
like
was
so
basically
many-
used to like oppress like black people, because they would see like a black guy with a white woman like driving around and then pull them over. That's how they got like Jack Johnson, who was like a boxer. Yeah. So he was saying this is basically just another incarnation of that. It's just
There's so
Rate-
many like ridiculous laws that are still on the books. I believe in the state of Maryland, no more than like 5 single women can live in a
like
a home because it could be potentially a brothel. Like there's so many Puritan,
yeah,
like
actually,
Puritan
in
laws
Maryland-
or ridiculous laws that
Well,
are
I
still
think
on
it's
the
a
books.
transition.
Yeah, like I believe in Maryland, actually, they can't have like sorority houses like they can in other states because if it's more than 5 women, it's officially a brothel.
Yeah, it could be considered a house of ill repute or something. Like,
Well,
what the fuck?
Well, I think
Yeah,
between
I mean, funny,
But you could
not
have like
funny.
30 dudes living in a house.
yeah, it's all
30
good.
Mexican
It's
dudes
cool.
just fucking hanging
Right?
out.
So, like, I would love to see, like,
It sounds like an excellent opportunity for Kyle to set up a man brothel.
but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's
it's
Kyle,
I see it as a transition with opiates and sex workers. You got this bloated police force, and they see the future of less marijuana prohibition, but yet they're massive. You know, it's $1 billion
Yeah.
operation, billions of dollar operation. So they got to shift their focus to justify their existence. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I've never thought of them as the policy makers, the police. You know, they just sort of enforce the law, whatever the laws that the Congress or legislators come up with.
Yeah, kind of like Nazis.
Oh, I mean,
They
they're
were just
they're-
guys
they're-
working the law, dude.
they're technically called law enforcement. Like,
Well, yeah,
it's their
I mean-
job to enforce the laws. I don't know that I'm sure their opinions vary on what the laws should be. Like, I wouldn't think every cop is against marijuana.
Well, it's not
Right.
like it's
A
not
lot
like
of them
it's not like
aren't at
every
all.
Nazi was against Jared's ancestors. But try to explain to Jared how they were just following orders.
I'm not gonna do that.
Tell me.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I did. Going back
do
to
you like how,
let's
do you
go.
like,
Hold
do you
on.
like how I flexed the Jew card?
Yeah.
Go back. Yeah, let's get back on.
awkward
Let's
spot.
get back on
So
topic.
I heard I read this story about a porta potty. I don't know if you guys heard of those.
Porta potties.
Yeah, no, it's like a
Never. You
can shit anywhere.
It's a prostitution thing. So like yeah,
Like a glory hole.
no. So
Porta
these
glory hole.
no. All right, let me inform you what a porta potty is. All right, so
Okay.
these women they go over. It's typically with Middle Eastern men. They'll go on like a cruise or something. The guys are really rich, and
Yeah.
so they'll pay these women exorbitant amounts of money to be degraded.
Sure.
Basically, so it's like 3 days. This woman said she was offered $40,000 for an anything goes 3-day cruise. And she was like, that's more money than I make in a year, so I decided to give it a try. And so she went on this cruise with these guys, and her story was very candid. It was on Facebook. I was reading about this.
Jesus.
But she was like, peed on, and she was like, that was fine. My boyfriend does that sometimes, so that
So
was
she had a
okay.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend was like, "Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Have fun, honey.
Yeah.
what a fucking retard."
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like,
really
they say that like prostitution is not consensual, but like it is possible for women to want to do this kind of stuff. But yeah, the guys did a lot of other stuff that's too graphic for the air. But then like they pooped on her. That's what the porta potty. You usually get peed on and pooped on.
the old
That's sort of-
Cleveland steamer.
yeah, get the Cleveland steamer. So, and she said like some of it got in her mouth, and she just got.
Jesus.
She was like, I was so disgusted, and the guy, I tried to stop it, and he slapped me, and she was like, I can't do it, and so it ended, and then she only got the original $10,000. They fronted her $10,000. They wouldn't pay her the remaining $30,000 because she backed out. Sort of in the middle of it. But,
Piss gets
yeah.
you 10, shit gets you 40.
yeah, but
Well,
there are.
I mean, was there a contract though?
I don't know.
What-
I don't know how.
What did the doc say, Kyle?
I don't know what. I didn't see the docs.
What did it
but,
say in the small print on the?
I mean,
on the contract?
if you go on some, I mean, you gotta have some common fucking sense. Like, if you go on a cruise with a bunch of Middle Eastern dudes and they say anything goes, and you're talking about cultures where
Right.
like
Yeah,
women wear like burlap sacks and like
where
and are like treated like animals. You
No,
know?
they
like,
understand up front. This
in
is
my country, it's man, horse, camel, donkey, small cretuli, rat, then woman. Like
that was like a perfect impression.
This is gonna be a great cruise. I can
Yeah.
tell you
what do you
already.
think's gonna happen?
Yeah, no, they know that it's gonna be poop and pee. Like,
Yeah.
they get that.
Yeah, but she just couldn't handle it.
No,
Okay, well
Yeah.
that's her own problem.
Right.
I mean,
but it was consensual.
Okay. Okay, so now for number 2, I've got something that we didn't put on the board because I just thought of it afterwards.
oh jeez, dude.
Did you guys hear that interview with? There was apparently a couple of interviews recently with grown men who claimed that as young boys they were molested by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So did you actually hear the interviews or not?
I saw a clip of it. I mean, they tell a compelling story, but
Is this Leaving Neverland? That whole documentary.
Yeah. But you know, it's Michael's long dead, and he's still got an estate worth millions. So
Yeah, that's
it's,
kind of my thought.
suspect. It's suspect.
You know, like last night, my wife actually had it on, and we were listening to it for quite some time. I think it was like, I mean, I don't know. It seemed like it was going on forever. And then I feel like we were listening to it for over 30 minutes. And this guy was just getting way explicit about what allegedly happened, according to him, now in 2019. And now Michael's died, like, I think it was like 10 years ago now.
Damn.
And one of those kids like testified in Michael's favor at one of his trials that he was acquitted at.
Yeah, so, I mean,
So
it just seems like to me.
But
he
allegedly
won-
he got paid off, right? Isn't that the whole?
Well,
Now, here's one
he
thing.
got receipts.
Here's one thing that I heard. I heard the one boy's mom was saying when Michael died, she was so glad that he died, but allegedly she didn't even know about the molestation till a few years after he died. So why was she glad that he died? You know,
Maybe she just
it's-
hated his music.
She wanted some money. I don't know.
No, well, I mean,
piece
well,
of the
also
pie.
according to the same lady, I mean, they just thought he
Maybe
was the
she's
best
racist.
back in the day because he was giving her son all these opportunities, supposedly, you know, and that's why she would let her son sleep in the same bed with Michael.
Oh my gosh! So she
well,
knew
see,
they were
so
sleeping in the
that's-
same bed, even.
She
Yes,
tolerated
she-
that.
she-
I mean, she's a fucking
Well, that
weirdo.
just makes you a horrible parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care
of
who it
course.
is, unless it's like your fucking old grandma or something. Like, you don't let your kid like sleep in bed with like another adult.
I mean, that's just like the R. Kelly parents, right? The R. Kelly parents were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, well, we knew about his past and the allegations, but like, you know, he was going to help her career." And
Right.
you're like,
Everything I know about.
They're just
R.
seeing
Kelly,
dollar
I learned
signs.
from Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle.
But all these parents, they're just seeing dollar signs. They're like, well, if my son is sleeping with Michael Jackson, like I could probably get some money out of this shit.
Well, yeah, and at the same time, it's like I feel like this is the time for this to happen because in 2019, you know, of course, you can't doubt the survivors, right? In 2019, you can't doubt the survivors. So you know,
Believe all women, right?
Well, yeah, well, or
boys in
or
this case.
grown men who used to be little boys, you know, 30 years ago. So, you know, and then it just seems like it seems like a little unfair because if you're going to come out after this guy's dead, well, it's not
10
unfair.
years,
It's
been
not
10 years,
unfair.
right?
Like, so if Michael Jackson actually did these things, and he may have, he may not have, I don't know. I wasn't fucking there, so I'm not going to be. And the reason why I'm like. You know, at first, you know, I believed it because everybody knows Michael Jackson's a weird dude. So you think weird people, you know, he probably did it, you know. But
Right.
then, you know, the more I think about it, it's just like, okay, well, why come out now? And you're coming out now. It's like, I mean, how can you really prove this unless you've got some semen?
Oh
Kyle?
Did any of them keep address? I don't know.
Got Kyle's
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah, just
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like you have to be careful
I
when
mean-
it's a rich celebrity
Well, yeah.
involved in the accusations
well, you
because
don't when they're dead because it's your word versus a dead guy,
yeah.
you know. So it's like, and it's believe the survivor's time, you know.
But I remember with the Kobe Bryant allegations, it was like, okay, maybe it happened, but like you have to have some doubt because this person is a target, right?
Right.
For scams and false accusations because they have so much money. They're a target for blackmail or to be extorted.
Yeah,
So-
you just need evidence is what it is. You need evidence. It's like with Bill Cosby, you had the testimony of like 50 women. You know, it's like unless they're all like
Alleged.
colluding. Like Like-
but then, yeah. Like after a while, the
Yeah, it's-
allegations. Once it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
once there's so many, it's like not looking too good for you.
Right. And like with the R. Kelly thing, like it's multiple.
Yeah, it's got like
You
people
know.
in his entourage, and I
Yeah.
mean, there's lots of people
Yeah.
saying the same thing.
Right.
I mean,
Did anybody watch the interview? I've only seen like memes
Clips
from
of it, and I watched
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live make fun of it. But
Oh, really?
I heard an interview where they were like, "Did you do this?" And he didn't say no. He was like, "I would be an idiot to do that."
he just
And
looks like
it's
a douchebag. He jumps up. He looks like an ass.
Well, it's like, yeah. I mean, that's like a
Bad
perfect
actor.
indicator of somebody who's like full of shit. Is like you don't like if somebody accused you of doing something like that and you actually didn't do it, you'd be like furious. You're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck you? I didn't do that shit. But you know, he's up there. He's like crying. He's like pleading. He's like, how could you think I would do that? You know, that's not what you're gonna say if you get accused of something.
It was a weird
Yeah.
reaction, suspicious reaction. Yeah,
But
it's a good
Yeah.
year so far, right?
it's been a good year for like fucking child predators, I guess, or bad year
Jesus.
for child predators.
Fucking hell.
I feel like there's like another like Catholic priest getting busted every day now.
God,
that's
not
not a
looking
bad
good.
thing.
Another round in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that the Catholic Church is gonna
Probably
get
should
serious about that.
Is that right?
They're gonna address the issue pretty soon here.
Okay, good. good.
At least within another generation or two.
Yeah,
Well, what they should do is make it okay for priests to get married.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the only solution because are these people?
Did you hear about the president in the Philippines?
What did he
Oh
do?
man, I was
He
telling my
said
girlfriend about
something
it. He basically said
About
like
Catholicism, right?
Talk about Duterte.
yeah,
crazy
yeah,
guy.
Yeah, the real
He said,
authoritarian guy.
I guess we could look it up, but he basically said like to allow priests allow for gay marriage because we all know they're gay anyways, or he said something like blatantly
Wow.
like yeah, he said like
Something Trump would say.
oh yeah,
but even
like
more
blatant,
over
like,
the
oh
top. Yeah.
shit, and
Yeah.
it's like the
Well, I
Philippines
mean,
has a
there's
huge
certainly-
Catholic population. He basically just came out and was just like,
Oh, it's like 90%.
mhm.
Yeah.
And he came out and was like,
Damn.
let me look it
That's
up.
what I
Let me
was
look it
saying.
up,
I
'cause
don't
he-
think being married is really the issue. I mean, if they're pedophiles.
But I'm saying
Right.
it attracts. It seems to like attract that because it's like okay.
Or he
Here's
said
a
he shouldn't
position.
allow-
Here's a
yeah.
position where like it's not suspicious if the guy's unmarried, right? Because he's not allowed to get married.
And,
And then
if
you're
they
also
got
in close proximity
all
with
that
like
guilt
young.
associated with it, that self-hating.
Well, that too. Yeah. And then you have and then they're in close proximity to like young boys all the time. So it's
Those
like
sexy
the young
little
boys
alpha
thing. That's
boys.
not going to change. That's not going to change. But you can at least change like one factor of it and be like, well, maybe we can get some more like married priests here that like aren't gay for boys. You know?
Yeah, some priests you like Kang.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to solve the issue.
Some priests
I mean, they definitely just
slay
need
some
some more.
pussy.
They need like some top-down
I guess. Well, yeah. What I'm saying
enforcement
is
of like not being kitty touchers. you
these
know?
aren't straight guys who've been deprived sex so
No,
much
no.
that they're like looking for an outlet.
No.
I think they're pedophiles, right? They are pedophiles going into it.
No, yeah,
well,
that's
they were probably
that's what I'm
altar
saying.
boys themselves.
But what I'm saying is it's a good cover for them. Whereas like, so they don't have competition from like married, straight married dudes, right? If a straight married dude was like, oh, I can be a priest, also be married, I might be more apt to like do that.
Yeah. I gotcha. I
So
get
now
what
you
you're
leave
saying.
this huge vacuum
be
that
more
like these
selective.
pedophiles can like fill.
Yeah, basically the Philippines president, he in a speech, he called the Catholic Church to allow priests to have boyfriends. In a shocking speech given at a groundbreaking ceremony for a school near the capital of Manila, he said most priests are gay, as he doubled down on a previous claim that almost 90% of clergy are homosexuals.
Wow.
Wow,
Damn.
Yeah, so
sounds progressive to me, dude.
yeah.
I would like this guy if he wasn't like murdering people in the streets for doing
right?
drugs.
Like he was given I think he's given out like bounties to kill
Yeah.
socialists, like $300
to kill
like, any-
socialists.
Yeah, any socialist.
That's fucked
he's
up. Man.
offered
As much as I
bounty.
hate socialists, I
He-
can't do
he's,
that.
it's like
That's how you get more socialists, though.
That's yeah, exactly.
So he's like really.
If Star
he's
Wars taught me
militant.
anything,
He's like going after drug dealers. Like
I knew about the drug stuff. Like they were
Mhm.
doing
Oh,
extra,
he's unhinged, man.
extrajudicial killings,
yeah.
right?
that's
There's
called
just-
murder.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
no
oh yeah, I
trial.
saw you selling drugs. Pff,
Yeah,
drop
right.
a little baggie on them.
Sprinkle some
crack.
crack on him. It's from Dave Chappelle. For anybody
Yeah.
that hasn't seen that stand-up bit.
It's fucking great, man.
But
That's the same one with like the baby selling crack on the corner.
I think so.
Yeah.
He rolls the window. And he's
Yeah.
like, hey, baby.
It's an old limo.
Hey, baby. Yeah, it's an old limo. Yeah. It's like, baby, stop selling weed. You got your whole life ahead of you. It's like, bitch, I got kids. Bitch, I got kids to feed. I think that was like the last joke. I think that was like the punchline to end the whole set. Yeah. It's great. I still haven't watched like the latest Attell. Or not Attell. I am going to see Attell though in a few weeks.
That'd be
Yeah,
nice. Good.
Where's
he's playing Magoobies. If any of you guys
Oh,
want to
wow.
go,
I'm
yeah.
down.
I
I'm down. I
definitely
saw him
wanna-
years ago.
Yeah,
in
Saturday,
town.
it's
Yeah.
like the 28th of this month.
Love David Tell. He's
Yeah.
great.
I'll send you guys a message.
Yeah, I went
Nice,
down to
okay.
D.C. to see him a while ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skanks
Magoobies
for the
is, like,
Memories
right-
is
right-
classic.
Right by my house, yeah.
Oh,
So.
hell yeah, dude.
Skanks
Yeah, I'll,
for the
I'll
Memories.
message you, bros.
I used to I never missed an Insomniac episode when that was on.
Oh, man, that was such a
That was
great show.
great. It was awesome.
Hell
I
yeah.
downloaded like all of them.
Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch that shit. There's a Baltimore episode. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
unaware of that.
Yeah.
they're BMXers down at Fells Point.
Oh, that's cool. I had a friend who did a documentary on those people.
What do you mean those people?
Those
Jared?
people. There's like an underground BMXer
What you
like
mean,
club
Jared?
in.
Jared.
I don't know if I call it a club, but like an underground BMX culture
Scene,
in
man. It's a
scene. I'm sorry, in Baltimore.
So they just ride bikes.
Well, they like build these like ramps in like the middle of like the woods in like like the parks areas, and they just like do underground BMX.
I know there's a big like dirt bike scene, in Baltimore.
Yeah,
This is
they're
rednecks.
trying to. Yeah, that's another. That's
The government's trying to get rid of that.
build them
but-
a park so that these kids and the.
Well, there's a documentary,
Oh, yeah,
12
'cause
O'Clock Boys.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
12 o'clock
yeah.
boys, yeah.
oh,
yeah.
dude! Like today was a really nice day. Give it a couple more weeks, and the weather starts breaking.
Oh yeah, dude.
They're going to
We'll
be
going
all
12
over the
o'clock.
fucking streets, popping wheelies against traffic,
Yep.
swerving in and out.
Yeah, they
Check your blind spots.
they ride on the back wheel like through traffic.
That's
I
a
don't-
wheelie, bro.
Yeah, it's a wheelie.
hey-
They do a wheelie through I don't know how they do it.
But if
how
we
they
just
could
build them,
I mean, they're
if we
very
just
talented.
yeah, I mean,
But
ballsy.
they're also like, yeah,
Yeah, because
they
it's,
don't
ridiculous.
give any fucks.
it's 12 o'clock because the bike is straight up.
Wow, dude,
That's why, yeah.
you're brilliant.
Yeah.
fucking insane.
Oh
But,
man.
I guess everybody else already saw the documentary. so.
We're going. We're going off on tangents.
Yeah. So what's topic number one again, Kyle?
Yang Gang is so there's this guy. It's Andrew
Yang.
Andrew
Yeah,
Yang.
He's running on the Democratic.
Yeah, that's the dude who was on Rogan, right?
Milton
Yeah.
Friedman wrote about this years ago, though.
Well, let me get to that. I saw this guy at LibertyCon. He's a Democratic candidate.
He was at LibertyCon.
But he came to LibertyCon in Washington, D.C. and spoke to a room full of libertarians. And I was left with the impression, I was like, wow, this guy's like he's a very good politician. I was like, he knew who his audience was, and he was able to sort of manipulate the people in the crowd and make it seem like, yeah, I'm not that bad. Like, you guys are normal. I'm not your normal kind of Democrat. I'm more libertarian than those guys. That was kind of the angle he was trying to take. And, I wasn't persuaded at all, but I know other
Not at
people.
all?
He was smoking a blunt on stage.
He was a smooth talker, like I
I mean,
could just tell.
Yeah, but I mean, Kyle, didn't you kind of view him as a comrade?
No, no, I didn't.
I watched the Rogan because I stumbled across a bunch of memes as of late. Just in the past couple of days, I'm like, who is this Andrew Yang or Yang 2020? I'm like, what's this about? So.
You were searching Yang on
Yeah.
Pornhub.
So I listened.
He was looking for the
Yin
Yin Yang twins.
So I went to his page and I stumbled across like one of his videos, and it was the Breakfast Club, and I was like, I don't want to listen to the. I was like, there's a Rogan I saw in related videos, so I said, oh, he was interviewed by Rogan pretty recently. So I listened to the his podcast this afternoon, and I thought, although the universal basic income is fucking insane, like $1,000 for every American, and he's equating it to, you could talk about it probably better, Kyle, about Milton Friedman apparently promoted this or wrote about it, Phil. But one thing I do think that it's definitely coming, and I don't think universal
Automation.
basic income, is that he's talking about the fact that trucks within the next 10 to like 20 years, 18-wheelers, that whole industry is going to change. And
But
you
he's
look
making
at,
a
I mean,
technological
you look at
prediction
even
Right,
that
you look at
is-
even
that
fast
is
food.
not worth much.
he's looking at like, phone banks. Look at
Yeah.
all the automated calls. Look at in all these industries that things can be automated either through AI, artificial intelligence, or automated through robotics. And he basically, I thought was really interesting the fact that he is an entrepreneur. He came from all these sectors, Silicon Valley, and that he's in tune with all this. And he's like, we're in like the third inning of automation. And he looked at it, and on the Rogan podcast, he was really interesting talking about the fact that he looked at how did Trump become president? And he's like, all right, he looked at the swing states that he won, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, all these states where you had huge manufacturing that's been
Roboticized.
Yes. So all these states, you have a workforce. So I like the fact he's coming about it like, look, we're in the middle of this industrial revolution and we're not equipped. They're not talking about the coming issues that are going to come of this. Like that in the next 10, 20, 30 years, a lot of us are going to be out of jobs, or the jobs that exist, not us, but certain jobs are going to be fucking obsolete.
Yeah, but
Automated.
that's happened throughout history.
Domo
though.
arigato.
True. And
Does he address that? Does he address that? The fact that there's no more carriage makers, there's no more horse. Well, there's horse trainers,
well, he didn't.
you know.
And that's one thing I don't. And that's one thing with Rogan. I wish he would challenge somebody. Like it's like, come on, dude. You listen to the Good Doctor. You supported the Good Doctor. When he was running
that.
But he's always like, he's always kind
I
of
want
like
him to come on, so I can't.
I don't want to
push him
at
too
least,
much.
At least, like he wants to get like, hey, and be that quote maybe.
I don't know.
Voice
I don't know if
reason.
Rogan has thought about it enough to ask that question.
But that's what I mean. I'm like, come on.
What about
like,
the
ask
candlestick maker? Like,
right, but at the same token, this is like major. This is like a huge shift where I don't think like, all right.
I mean, it might. Yeah, I mean, it might be
It's
more
there's
drastic.
going to be a drastic shift, and he's talking about the fact that he was
like, what are we going to do about all these people that are out of work?
right, and
suddenly?
I guess he brought it up because he was on like Obama's economics. He was on his cap. I don't know to what levels, I forget, but he was talking about that, talking to individuals like, oh well, we'll just have to better train. He basically was like, government sucks at this. Like he's basically saying like he was saying like government sucks at retraining. Or we're not good at this. Like we're not good at education, like retraining. So his whole like
or education in general.
education in general, exactly. And one thing, so watching it, he was very against like the college system, the way it is now. That he talked about the fact that we need to be promoting trade schools and technical. He's looking at it like only 6% of high school graduates go into tech, whereas like 50% in Germany. You're looking at this skills gap. And he was also talking like
Learn
so
to code.
right. So they did talk about that too. But
That's racist, Jared.
But there are some things that I can in Kyle, like I said, like there's some things where I'm like, dude, no, I can't agree with that. But just talking with like he wants Medicaid for all, which I think is ridiculous. But he did talk about the fact, like he talked about the opioid crisis, the incentive, like the way that the healthcare system is, it incentivizes. It's not like individual based. It's more like, oh, if I prescribe you these drugs, I'll get kickbacks, or by doing the right thing as a doctor, I won't. He talked about a lot of issues that we're facing right now. So I think he's way more progressive. Like I wouldn't agree with his solutions, but I think he's looking at problems that I don't think anybody's talking about, or we're not equipped to deal with right now. Or nobody's really.
I mean, our politicians aren't going to be talking about this because this isn't something that's happening right now.
Right.
They're always focused on like, okay, how can I win right now? How can I?
Let the market do it.
Well, yeah, sure, but I mean, I'm just saying, they're not going to be the ones saying like,
They'll just make it fucking worse.
What's that?
The politicians just make it worse.
Well, yeah, I'm saying like that's what who people look to for like guidance for whatever fucking reason.
Oh, they're the leaders in our society.
Right. So like if you're thinking like, am I going to be okay in 10 years? And some of them are talking about global warming, but they're not talking about what what Alex was just talking about.
I think some of them are, and I the biggest area I've seen it is cashiers lately. I go to Walmart or the grocery store, and the self checkout is becoming a larger and larger percentage of the checkout line.
Well, a lot of that is also the $15 minimum wage.
Yeah,
right. Well,
we're gonna get into that too.
Boom.
Yeah, nice little transition. But I think
we
can talk about like
Yang.
UBI a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's like his solution. It's
sure.
$1,000 a month for everybody, and Joe Rogan at least challenged him on that. Like, how's that feasible? Because that equates to about I think he said like 3.6 trillion a year.
Yeah, that's what I was.
The libertarian leaning people that have written about that, they use that. They would support that universal basic income if the rest of the entire welfare system was eliminated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you don't have all that bureaucracy with Social Security.
Well,
and
like
food stamps and housing.
And I think the idea is like the government spends so poorly, just mismanages our money so poorly that, if you could put it directly into the hands of the people, you would eliminate all that bureaucracy. And then, who's going to know best when it comes to issues concerning themselves than, the people,
And then the market provides services.
Yeah.
With here's the cash, dumbass, you lazy fuck.
I think that's kind of what he was getting. He did talk about that, and Joe Rogan challenged him the fact like, all right, well, you already have all these individuals on these programs. So he said it would be prorated, like, oh, you're already getting this. So he didn't talk about eliminating these programs, but he said like, all right, well, instead of getting this, you'll get, the remainder of the balance.
Yeah, but I can just see, just like every
other.
other aspect of welfare, I can see people just manipulating the shit.
Yes, and the other aspect,
Like creating, like, how do they determine where to send this $1,000 check? So what does everyone have to now get like all the real IDs and like register all your addresses?
That's the other thing too. Like how like there's
a
lot of
citizen.
civil liberty aspects
definitely have
that
to be a
were that were glossed over, and that's the kind of thing where he's looking at it in the future, and I think it's kind of borderline dystopian, where it's the fact like, all right, there's $1,000 just given out, and you're not like look
it
at
just
all the
appears
issues
on your card. That
on
issued
your
by the
chip,
government. Yeah.
on your RFID chip.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how
You know,
It's the mark of the beast, man. It's the mark of the beast.
like with by social security number or something like that.
Yeah,
But,
just there weren't. I was like, if you could get, I wish it was only an hour. It was an hour and a half. I wish he would have got into it more, and I wish he would have asked more questions about it.
But I think the biggest thing is like you said, like if they eliminate all of the other welfare and free up like this.
It would be more
What did we
cost
say?
effective.
$1.2 trillion.
It'd be more cost effective.
But if we don't, then you're just adding like more trillions of dollars to the U.S. debt, which is already at $23 trillion.
I think it's a lot more than what our current welfare spending is, because you're talking about taking everybody that's 18 or older, which is 252 million people, and then at $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. That's what at 3.6 trillion you said it was. I mean, that is a lot more than we currently spend on welfare. So I think this would be a massive expansion of the welfare state. And then I also don't think anything else would go away. Like we talk about eliminating bureaucracy, but I think administering this is going to have just as much, if not more, bureaucracy than what we have right now, because you're adding so many people to the welfare rolls.
Right.
You're adding literally every adult. And you're adding people that are already rich, that already have no need of this money, right? That's like, not everybody needs a handout.
And
they print the money and
devalue
inflation adjusts accordingly.
I was getting to that. Where are you going to get an additional $3.6 trillion a year? Are you going to raise taxes by $3.6 trillion? Or it'll end up being $4 trillion once you add in the cost of administration.
And he didn't talk
so
about,
it's like, Jared, I'm going to tax you, $1,100 a month so I can pay you $1,000. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's self-defeating.
So it's just redistributing to like the lowest income people that are like not paying any taxes, really.
If it goes to everybody, if it goes to everybody,
they get to vote.
But what I'm saying is, if I'm taxed at if I'm taxed $1,100 a month and I get back $1,000, I'm basically paying for like the lowest income people who are paying like $20 a month in taxes or something, if that, and they're still getting that $1,000.
Okay, I got.
So that's what I mean by
saying.
redistributing, which is like, so you're just.
But they didn't talk about. He didn't talk about anything about like. The other thing I could maybe see, like, all right, this might be feasible if you drastically cut the military-industrial complex. If you pull all the troops from Europe, from Asia, from overseas,
yeah, but they're not going to do
that. They're not, and that's the thing. So it's like you said, it's going to be a massive expansion of the welfare state. And he's looking at it through these rose-colored lenses, like, oh yeah, if you just give $1,000 to someone, they can, they're an entrepreneur. It's like, look, I look around my neighborhood. You give those dumb fucks $1,000 a month, they're not going to be investing it. They're not going to be saving it. They're not going to be trying to start their own business. They're not going to do the right thing. They're just going to be a bunch of dumb fucks. Like, you're just going to promote, like, some people, like, yeah, like, I'd be like, all right, cool. But you're going to debase your currency. It's not adjusted for inflation. Where are you going to come up with this money? And what you're going to do is people that are already on the welfare rolls, you're just going to incentivize, like, oh, cool, I get it.
You're going to inflate prices.
That too.
Yeah.
So now what? So I do kind of like the aspect where he's trying to get ahead of, and he was quoting like what Elon Musk apparently was talking about.
Matt just got a boner.
Promoting, he's promoting this, and he's like, well, when's the right time to do this? Do we do it now before this massive industrial revolution? Like, he called it the fourth turning, or do we do it?
I've heard that.
Yeah, like we're like in this fourth, like that's the thing. Like, it's think about it, right? Like, all the trucks you see on the highway right now within 20 years are going to be like drones.
Well,
Yeah.
and in an
truck drivers
ideal society, I would say, our school system should be preparing people for
They're not,
this,
but
right?
yeah, and that's the thing.
Like, they should be like, well, it's okay to be a truck driver now, but maybe like accumulate other skills. Maybe
public
like,
school
I don't want to
system
say
doesn't wanna
learn to
do
code
that.
per
Yeah.
se, but like I don't know, other trades
Well,
that
the
sort
trade-
of
that's the
are
thing.
near are close to that.
And that struck a chord with me too, because a lot of things he was talking about was like, look, the trade should be promoted because look, automation is going to replace.
Someone's
look
got
at
a
the
mach-
Amazon fulfillment warehouses. Like,
someone's got to be a robot technician. Someone's got to be
exactly.
fixing the conveyor belt. Someone's
Right.
got to be like.
And he also is saying that some jobs you can't automate. You can't, like, the fact HVAC, plumbing, welding,
Prostitution.
some welding, machining. You're still going to need, like,
Jared.
Wait, you can't automate that.
I think we've already had.
Wait, when's that auto blow coming, dude?
In the past few years, like,
C-U-M-M-I-N-G.
we've already had sweeping economic changes with computers, and then the internet has been the biggest thing. Like, the internet
Sure.
has transformed the world, and the market has just adapted.
Yeah, it's
So we
created
don't-
more opportunities.
It's created more opportunities, and
Yeah.
like, we don't need government to go, oh well, Uber's putting all these cab drivers out of work, so we need to
Yeah.
protect their jobs.
we
Yeah.
was
And
even talking
it's
about,
this-
like,
or-
Uber, like, eventually cabs will be automated. Like, everything is just, like,
Yeah,
self-driving everything. So, we're
But that's
talking,
just a
like, lot-
society.
I mean,
That's a society getting wealthier, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that should be a good thing. It's
Well, I've
just a
ridden
matter of, is the government going to fuck everything up?
I've ridden in a Tesla, and it's like, it's pretty creepy or crazy that it drives for you.
Yeah.
It's cool, and you can see that may be in the future that we will no longer need drivers.
Yeah.
But
I mean, hopefully.
is it going to be to the point where you say, okay, there's not going to be a truck driver, the truck's just going to drive itself around with no one in there to take manual control if something goes wrong? Maybe it gets to that point. I don't know,
Yeah.
but like, again,
yeah, that's
the
the thing.
trucking industry can change. All of these people that are truckers now can find new jobs, and then our overall productivity as a society goes up because now you get trucking plus whatever they're doing
Yeah, exactly.
instead.
Right.
So it's always automation adds to your total output as a country.
Right.
I think.
I think the
No,
worry,
I
the
agree
worry
with
is there
you.
might not be that instead. Like, there might not be, okay, cool, you have a high school education, you're 50 years old. The fuck are you going to do? You don't have any other skills besides driving a truck from point A to point B.
Yeah.
What's wrong with being almost 50 and having a high school education? You tell me what's wrong with that.
No, nothing. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like,
Fucking
But for new people, right?
Um,
New students aren't going to be like, oh, I'm going to become a truck driver, or they're going to know that's not an opportunity that
If they're
it used to
educated
be,
correctly, yeah.
and they're going to go into different fields. So I mean, yeah, it's tough when you're entrenched. But I mean, this stuff does not happen overnight. Like,
well, it could though. I mean, not overnight,
not
but I
overnight.
can see it. It's coming, and I don't think anybody's really.
Well, yeah, I mean, isn't it? It's also coming.
I mean, I
with,
definitely
it's also
believe the
coming
market's-
with the rise of the minimum wage.
And the rise of the machines.
Yeah, so that's another aspect of it too, is the minimum
Skynet.
wage.
Skynet.
So in Maryland, they just increased. Well, they voted on it. They're going to increase it to $15 an hour in Maryland, by 2023.
Oh, did you see Hogan? Hogan said 1250.
Yeah, he
Let's make it-
compromised.
Our,
It's like-
our bold Republican governor took a stand against it and said it should be 1250
Yeah,
instead of 15.
1010, let's raise it to $2
Right.
and 40 cents to $12.50, not 15. Not let's fight this on principle, or the market should decide what, not. Yeah.
It's like the perfect example of how Republicans normally are, because they don't take libertarian positions. They don't take the opposite or the free market approach. They just take the progressive idea and they just dull it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and then they say, "Oh,
2024.
we're the real opposition to the Democrats."
Yeah.
You know, so they're going to be 15. We're 1250.
Yeah,
right?
it's
You know,
like, hey, we're
wait
not going to the cliff at 100 miles an hour.
right.
55.
Slower.
Yeah, 70. Yeah, like,
But they're still progressives. Like
Right.
they still believe in the same. We're still going to have a minimum wage. We're still going to raise the minimum wage, just not as
Exactly.
fast.
Yeah.
It's like, how is that? And I'm on
We'll
the
lose jobs, but
Well,
not
that's
as
the only
many.
way you can get elected as a Republican governor in this state, anyways.
Yeah, I mean that's
If
how
you're
he's
basically a
gotten
Democrat
elected.
in sheep's clothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like we're not going to take your AR-15, but we'll keep your bump stock though.
Yeah. They it's crazy too, because the other aspect of it is like 2023. So you look at, factor in inflation. So say it is $15 by 2023. That $15 is in
worth
current.
less.
Yeah, exactly. They don't talk about any of that, and the fact that it's like, all right, so if I'm working at a place and I'm getting, say I was getting above that, now what? All right, so I'm making $18-20 an hour. Now what?
Well, I don't know. Like I'm around like a lot of different people from progressives to Republicans, and I feel like not even I don't hear from very many Republicans ever, the fact that the currency is devaluating. Like they don't talk about inflation enough. I feel like.
No,
It's just kind of another way that like libertarians are cooler,
or they just think
'Cause, I mean,
prices are going up, and it's like,
yeah,
no.
to me, it's like the obvious problem. You look at how much cheaper things were like 20 years ago.
Goddamn
hence,
Federal Reserve.
hence your money not being worth as much.
Dude, it's weird. Like these democratic socialists, they hate the banks. They hate the billionaires, but they don't ever talk about the Federal Reserve,
no,
the biggest fucking bank in the fucking nation.
Universe.
Yeah, and
Right.
And it's also private, technically private, so they should hate it even more. But they don't even fucking talk about it.
yeah, it's a cartel. I mean, it's a legally sanctioned banking cartel. And if you want to have a bank, you need to.
But no, it's Bank of
good work
America.
if you
They're
can
the
get
enemy.
it.
It's like Bank of America is just doing whatever they can get away with because the Federal Reserve is controlling interest rates.
yeah, yeah.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I think I think all the listeners probably understand the minimum wage thing, but it's like,
would
the higher you make it, like people that can't earn that much
They get priced out.
don't get
You're
jobs.
you're pricing the lowest skilled people out of the market,
And you're also hurting.
which is the opposite of
Yeah.
what it's intended to do. It's intended to help those people, but what actually ends up happening is you end up pricing them out of jobs.
Right.
Yeah, and then
You're-
they go, now we have a homeless problem.
We should
You
give
know?
them
Now we
$1,000.
have
We should
what-
just give them $1,000 a month
Right.
and leave them alone.
Now we have all this poverty. And they go, well, we have a poverty problem. So instead of saying, well, maybe minimum wage is too high and these people have been priced out of work, priced out of the job market.
rent control.
They
zoning,
go, we're going to throw money at them. We're going to do Section 8 housing, and then we're going to give them houses, and we're going to give them food stamps, and they're not going to need to work
Yeah.
because we're going to support them instead. But it's like, that's not the right. What we want is people to have to work because we need, more productivity. So, I mean, it's good for our economy for more people to work. So preferably they would have jobs and support themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
You guys are convinced.
Oh, you got me, dude.
I'm on board.
Yeah, preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, and it also, I like to bring this up, but people think it's like, oh, this will really sock it to Walmart if we raise the minimum wage. It's like Walmart doesn't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck.
Walmart can afford to pay, maybe can afford to pay 15 minimum wage, or they can afford to automate the shit.
Billy
make it more
Bob's General
efficient.
Store, on
So
the
look
other
what,
hand.
But yeah, exactly. Like Bob's Discount Furniture down here, like he can't afford that shit,
Yeah.
And he's trying to hire like the 15-year-old high school kid that wants to like start making some money so he can buy a car.
Yeah.
And now he can't because this kid's not worth $15 an hour. He's worth $9 an hour, and he's got he's got a home. He lives with his parents. Like, he doesn't need $15 an hour.
The evidence is already out there. I posted an article in our group earlier this week, but you look at Whole Foods, which was bought out by Amazon in 2017. Whole Foods is Amazon made it a company policy, $15 an hour a couple of months ago, or maybe not a couple of months ago, but recently they made it. It was like $15 an hour, and there are
Whole Foods, you say?
Yeah, so Whole Foods was bought out by Amazon. Amazon made it a company policy, $15 an hour. They're already cutting back part-time hours from about 30. So part-time employees are getting their hours cut from what average of like 30 hours a week down to like 20 some.
Yeah.
Full-time, they were the average, instead of 38 hours for full-time employees, has been cut down to like almost 32. And
Well, you just need to mandate like 38 hours a week. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. So instead of like the minimum
Need a
wage,
law.
you
New
need
rule
to
to fix it.
mandate, create a law. Like, so that's the other fallacy is people think, oh, these big companies like the Walmarts or et cetera, they can afford to, but they also could be like, yeah, we can pay 15, but you're not going to get you're not going to get the amount of hours. And the crazy thing is the fact that because they're working even at part-time or full-time, even at the higher rate, due to taxes, because they're in these like high fucking tax states like Oregon, Maryland, Illinois, they're actually making less because they're being raped with taxes at a higher rate by getting their hours cut back. So it's like, what the fuck are we doing?
Have you guys noticed that like grocery stores, like you don't really see that many cashiers anymore?
No,
like it's like, and they have these huge like self checkout areas.
Oh yeah, it's getting crazy. Like
It used to be like you had one self checkout where it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But now it's like they've like you go to Giant and there's like this huge like area,
Six-pack of them.
yeah, and then there's like maybe 2 lanes open if you want like some service.
Yeah. All
like,
these
like,
places
I went
are
to the grocery
automating.
store the other day, and there was like 2 cashiers, and then I think it was the rest are still self checkout.
Yeah.
And it's still my cashier's like talking to people on her phone while she's ringing people out. And it's like
She deserves a raise. What are you talking about?
15 for her.
15.
Fight for 15.
You get a
it's
raise.
like-
You get a raise. You get a raise.
Do you see what's happening here?
You're becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
No, I mean that's
Oh,
true.
Jesus.
You go to Home Depot, you go to like they expanded their self checkout. I mean, usually you might see like 1 or 2 cashiers, and usually they're not even like behind the cash. They're like doing other shit within the area,
Yeah, like stocking or something.
Yeah, especially during slow periods, and even then, like you see. Everybody's like, fuck that, I don't want to go there. Because half the time you go there and these dumbasses don't even know what the fuck it is.
Yeah,
It's
they're like putting
can't
your-
you go like
like
you
putting
kind of
your,
want to
like-
like give me that computer, I'll
Yeah.
fucking look it up right now. It's like this and this.
They're
It's
like putting your cans on top of your eggs and shit.
yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
What
It's
are you
just like,
doing,
ah,
you
fuck,
fucking
get the
animal?
fuck out of here.
Well, yeah.
Like I'll check my own shit.
Also, too, it should be mentioned the extra cost on business is when they have to pay an employee $15 an hour. Don't they, in turn, then have to pay the government more as well?
Yeah, Social
Payroll
Security,
tax.
Yeah.
payroll taxes,
So-
everything. So you
It's-
eliminate that.
You're really you're just making it like harder to do business than it already. It's gotten pretty hard, but you're making it even harder.
So now it's like, hey, guess
Yeah.
what? I'm not going
And,
to hire as many
of course,
people.
as guys were saying, especially small business.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah, like most small companies be like, hey, I could pay, like right now in Maryland, it's 10-10. I'm sure like a lot of small businesses are paying that or even more. But once they raise it to 15, they'll be like, all right, well, guess what? I guess I'm not going to hire someone, or I'm going to cut my workforce down, or I'll go out of business, or I'll just,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
gonna
it's going to
It's
be
gonna be bad news bears.
exactly, and especially in rural parts of this state, it's gonna be if it goes, even if it goes to like what he said, what $12.50, that's gonna even be tasking on some parts of the state. I mean, maybe not in like the Baltimore or DC like metropolitan area, but like out in Bumblefuck, like Western Maryland or Eastern Shore,
Yeah.
like where the cost of living there's not as much like it's going to hurt
No,
like
well,
a lot
yeah,
of
I
small
mean,
businesses.
Like I feel like the economy's definitely rough right now. I can see it. I work in sales, and so the economy's definitely rough. So then on top of that, you're going to put this extra cost on businesses. I mean, that's going to be a breaking point for.
I mean, you work for a
some
small
businesses.
business, Matt. I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
you could probably see some individuals you work with like, hey, you're gone.
I mean, it's it's definitely scary times. That they're it seems to me to be very anti-business.
Yeah, they are. They always assume like, oh, well, business can afford to pay this, right? We're going to mandate this, and people are just going to get more money. But they never think about it from the business's perspective and say, can they afford to pay people more?
Yeah, they really don't think about the businesses.
Well, because every business owner is an evil capitalist that's trying to rape people with profit.
Right,
Like,
sitting on a pile of money, right?
Yeah, it's like
Hoarding my gold.
like Scrooge McDuck.
it's like,
all for me, all for me.
dude, I mean, even Walmart is like operating on such thin margins that, raising the minimum wage would just like, and yeah, sure, like the Walton family is going to be fine regardless of what happens, but it's just people don't understand how delicate like a bottom line is,
Yeah, the profit margins are often thin.
Yeah,
they're not huge like people think.
Exactly.
So,
well, before we run out of time here, I think we need to talk about this recent Jack Dorsey episode of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, so I listened and Jared listened.
I did.
The rest of you guys.
I have no idea what the fuck you're
I
talking
bet
about.
Phil listened.
well, tell us about it.
Okay, so Jack Dorsey is, correct me if I get anything wrong here, but anybody can do this sober. Jack Dorsey. Okay, so Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Google, right? And he was on
Whoa, you already fucked up.
no,
dude.
not Google. I'm sorry. Twitter. I was just testing you, Jared. I was just testing you. So Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Twitter, right?
Right.
Recently, he was on the Rogan program. This is probably like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago.
Rogan program.
Yeah, the Rogan program. I'm classing it up. Yeah. So, he was on there, and then everybody was furious that Rogan didn't give him a tougher time of it.
Right.
Specifically regarding all the censorship on Twitter.
Right.
The bannings of a ton of people. Just as we were banned on Facebook. A bunch of people were banned on Twitter, round about that same time. There's been a lot of censorship going on.
Yeah.
So on the Rogan episode, he had on fucking Jack Dorsey, and this time Jack Dorsey brought along some fat bitch from Twitter.
Was she fat? I thought she was kind of hot when I saw the picture.
I was just joking around, man, because I didn't like what she was saying as far as like she's all about censoring people and stuff. Right. So I'm sorry for being rude.
It's
Like,
okay,
I guess
dude.
that was bad.
It's all right.
Okay, so he brought along this chick on Twitter who's in charge of like censorship.
Yeah,
and then there was also this dude who I'm not sure I've ever heard before. His name was Tim Pool.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of him before this, although I did recognize him from like YouTube, like suggested videos that I'd never click on.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so like I feel like he did a pretty good job on this episode.
I think he did an okay job.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem is
would
he was
agree.
trying to
Okay.
paint it as this like left versus right dichotomy thing that we're always trying to get away from on this podcast.
Right.
And I don't know that it is. I think it's more of because like the Free Thought Project, they're not right wing,
Not at all.
and they were like. I wish he had brought them up, but he's probably not even aware of them, or if he is, he doesn't care. But they were banned like from multiple platforms like all at once, and he was just trying to make it like, you guys only ban right wing people and you don't ban left wing people, and then he was like arguing for like basically making Twitter like a utility. Which like freaked me out. I was
Like a public
which means
utility.
regulation.
Yeah. He was like, you guys have too much power. You don't have anybody. You don't answer to anybody, and that scares me. And like, we need the government to come in. Is basically what he was saying.
Rogan was?
No. This was this Tim Pool guy who I thought was like right wing, but
Well, okay,
I don't know.
But stop for a second though. If Twitter doesn't, part of you kind of feel like, oh, well, if Twitter's going to be that big, if Twitter's going to be that much of, I feel like these businesses are kind of like big monopolies.
I mean,
so it's
they
like,
certainly are, but at the same time, I don't want, I fight against like the whole net neutrality thing, or at least the government imposed net neutrality thing, just like you do.
Yeah.
And that would be a similar thing. Is like, yeah, I get it. Like Twitter's huge. Like a lot of people use Twitter. They control a lot of the conversation that happens online.
Yeah, I mean,
but like you gotta let the market do its thing.
Well, yeah, because honestly, I feel like if the government sticked its dick in the mashed potatoes, Twitter would have like so much more censorship.
That's what I mean. Yeah, the government's not going to fix it. You just got to like hope. and I think you see with Facebook, like their numbers have been going down. You know,
Yeah.
people are getting tired of them.
just listen
They're just
to,
waiting
like-
for something new to come along.
I mean, I listen to sports radio, and sometimes, God, it's so fucking boring listening to, compared to listening to podcast or
Right.
the fact because it's like all the time, like, they're dumping calls because someone drops an F-bomb or someone drops a, or, oh, got to be worried. Oh, I can't talk about that, or the FCC. It's like, really? Like, it's stuff that's not even that controversial. It's like you got to always be worried that your company or that you could lose your quote unquote license to broadcast because, oh shit, we didn't dump a caller before they dropped an F-bomb because, like, I don't know, like they're
over the air.
Yeah, exactly. Like, God forbid at 2 a.m, some
14-year-old.
It's it's
Alexis,
ridiculous.
Alexis, at this time, I would like to point out that I have dropped not one but 2 F-bombs on radio.
Oh, okay, nice.
Okay,
nice. Well,
It is just ridiculous that you have that kind of like language censorship
yeah.
on radio. It's like
Like
I feel like that should be up between that should be between the
like this was hilarious.
that should be between like the radio show and the advertisers. Like
Yeah,
if the advertiser's like, I don't want you to cuss, then the radio producer or whatever should be like, all right, well, I won't cuss then because I want your money, or fuck you, I want to cuss, so fuck your money. But instead you have like this FCC overarching thing that's
100 years
that's
of regulation.
looking out for the children. Like, God forbid the children hear the F-bomb.
What about the children?
Yeah, it's like why do we have this? Like, this is some puritanical bullshit, man. Like, it should be completely between, and that's why, like, I get scared about this net neutrality shit, because God forbid, like, the FCC can tell Rogan that he can't fucking, talk about, like, doing DMT and all the other sorts of like crazy shit that he talks
Basically,
about.
everything will just be like
Or
flipping
us.
on your cable news or
Right.
flipping on your cable television because it was ridiculous. Just a couple of days ago, so I was listening to the sports radio station I listened to in Philly, and it was they were interviewing Bryce Harper, and he was like, he dropped damn. He said damn, and he's like, oh, can I say that? Like, I'm like, you said damn, like what the fuck? Like, really? Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, but he was like seriously worried.
Well, it's
like,
funny when
oh,
you hear
no. Like, and they were like, oh no, that's cool, man. I mean,
It's funny when you hear like radio people that are used to doing radio interviews, and they wind up on a podcast, and they're like, oh, is it all right if I cuss? And like they're like, yeah, go the fuck ahead. Like,
Yeah,
like,
this is a podcast.
like,
You
this
can
is a
say whatever
podcast.
you want. It's great.
But I mean exactly. It's just so ridiculous. It should be up to in a truly free society. It should be up to the radio, the whatever the case may be, and to who they answer
the
to,
property owner.
their
property-
markets,
Yeah.
who their audience. I
Right.
mean, if it's like a kid show, probably
Yeah, probably refrain
Tone
from
it down
talking
a
about
little.
pussy.
Yeah. But if it's like it's like. Yeah, it's like, and let adults be, because it's kind of ridiculous. You have, it's like, oh, well, this is a morning show. It's like, if you got kids in the car, you might want to turn this down. It's like, that's fucking ridiculous. You should allow the adults to make a decision. Like, maybe I shouldn't be listening to this with
Yeah.
around.
Like maybe not
take
listen to Howard Stern when you're in the car.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
kids.
Take some responsibility. Like,
Yeah.
not allow, because that's the other aspect of it too. Is like you have these FCC regulations, and it's fucking ridiculous because you watch you watch news. Like, God forbid, on like you got all these shows like CSI.
Yeah. God forbid
whatever-
you see like a dead body.
You
with
see
like,
dead bodies with all cut the fuck up, but God forbid if you see some titties. God forbid if the children see a nice set of tits. But they could see like grotesque violence and gun violence and fucking people getting stabbed, cut the fuck up, autopsies and shit. That's okay.
Yeah.
But God forbid if they see some tits.
Right.
And it's fucking pathetic when like
Not a nipple.
like, oh my God, like it's just so anyways, yeah, but it like what they pick and choose to censor, or what they pick and choose, oh, that's acceptable or this isn't. Like, you're allowing this it
is cool that Twitter does allow porn.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because a lot of like some of the Instagram pages I follow, they're like, uncensored on Twitter. It's like, God damn, Twitter's like the fucking Wild West. Like, Twitter's pretty fucking wild. But I don't
Unless
have a
you
Twitter
have like
account,
differing
but-
political opinions in them, then they're not so wild.
Yeah, unless, but I mean, yeah.
But yeah,
compared
back to the original podcast. I don't know, like I felt like he was definitely going at him, but I don't think anything got resolved. I think he was getting really. He was like, I think there's going to be a civil war, and like, I'm scared for the future. I'm buying a van. I'm gonna like ride around and film it. I was like,
And then
Live in a van down by the river.
well, yeah, and then if you recall, at some point, Rogan was like, "So let's come back in 6 months and see where we're at."
yeah,
And Jack Dorsey's like, "Oh, it's going to take way longer than that." So it's, I mean,
Yeah.
to do what? It's like, I don't know. It's pretty nuts. I don't think we're going to see much out of it.
no,
At least now, it's definitely out there and it's documented. Everybody knows that there is a huge problem with the censorship on Twitter.
yeah, no,
So, and I think, that's cooler than it was the day before that podcast aired, because this is the #1 fucking podcast. So,
yeah.
it's definitely a conversation that needed to be had. So, yeah, I guess that's probably about all for tonight. And we have T-shirts over at libertariancountry.com. If you type in the code PRL or the code PRL podcast, you'll receive a 10% discount. Also, if you guys could hit us up and review us any place where you can do like a podcast review, that would probably help us out a bunch. So maybe if you can't contribute to the Patreon, but you could probably just find a minute or two to write a review. That's fucking awesome. Or if you could do both, that's cool too.
Hell yeah.
Until next time, live free
Or die.
Dude, so